providing a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which each member has the opportunity to develop verbal communication and leadership skills, which promote self-confidence and personal growth. Tonight's meeting features a special event for us. Alessandra is giving her second speech in a pair of speeches in her path presentation mastery. Before we get to her speech, I'd like to introduce tonight's Toastmaster, and I have to take a look at an agenda momentarily to see who is Toaster tonight.
That would be me. Art,
Right.
you want to?
Thank you, Jean.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome all Toastmasters here this evening. Our theme this evening is autumn, and I'm sure we'll have a very nice table topic session around that season. It's actually probably my favorite season here in Iowa, so I'm in good shape here. Let's go ahead and start with our role players. And we did do a little shifting. If you may have gotten my revised agenda. So tonight, our timer is going to be Bob Fogel. Bob, would you tell us how you'll be timing us tonight?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. This evening, my role as the timer, we will have a prepared speech this evening, and the prepared speech that Alex is going to be giving is at 5 minutes, I will show her the green. At 6 minutes, I will show her the yellow. And at 7 minutes, the red will pop up. And then Alex has 30 seconds to wrap it up. Our table topics are between 1 to 2 minutes. Of course, you have 30 seconds to think about it before and get your thoughts together. And at the first minute, I will put the green. And the second minute and a half will be the yellow. 2 minutes, the red will come up. And again, you got 30 seconds to wrap it up. Our evaluator this evening, are we doing 3 to 4, or is that to wait to be decided?
We have a regular speech evaluator, and that's always going to be 2 to 3.
2 to 3
minutes. And our table topics are the ones that we kind of just see where we are.
Okay.
Usually 2 to 3, but could be a little longer.
So as the evaluators, the green will be at 2, yellow 2.5, the red at 3, and you'll have 30 seconds to wrap it up. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bob. Timer's roll. The next role player I'd like to hear from would be our grammarian, and that would be Alex Givens.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, with my role as a grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listen carefully to their language usage. I'll take a note of any improper language as well, any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. It's also my duty to introduce the word of the day, and the word of the day is transition. Let me just stop here, and I'll include in the chat. So transition is the process or a period of changing from one state or condition to another, or undergo or cause to undergo a process or period of transition. In the example here, we have transitioned from a high intensity combat operation to a support role in the community. And I'll give my report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Alex, for that role, double role, our speaker and our grammarian. Now we'll hear from the odd counter, who happens to be me. The odd counter's job is to count filler words, things that we don't want to interject into our speech words like, well, you know, so, like, but, also sounds, any other kinds of things that I hear you saying, like perhaps repeats when you start a sentence, a little bit of a hiccup there. Don't want to do those. I will be giving a report at the end of the meeting, see how we do. Great. We'll also be hearing from our general evaluator, who will be Dan Craig later. And then also our joke master. I'm not sure if Rahul is on track here, but he is scheduled to be our joke master, and we'll see where we are. Give him a little time to get here. He may have to transition a little bit from whatever he's doing to get onto the meeting. Alex, did you put a little mark next to my name?
Say that again?
Uh-huh. Did you hear me use the word of the day?
You said transition. Yeah, I did. I did hear. Sorry.
Okay, I just want to make sure
There's
you
a
mark
little
me.
delay. There's a little delay. I
Yeah,
have a whole speech in my mind. So
I know. I watched your face. There was no acknowledgement going on there.
Oh, gee.
So I'm just helping. I'm helping out here a little bit. Okay.
but thank
so,
you.
Yeah. Okay. I know. I'm sorry. I have to assign you another role just to cover everything. I just
That's
would rather you
okay.
focus on your speech. Okay. Very good. All right. So now it's the Toastmaster. So we're now going to move into our prepared speech by Alex. And first, I'd like to have her evaluator tell us what Alex is trying to do. And this is that project where she gave a speech, she got feedback, and now she's just in terms of learning how to incorporate feedback to refine a speech. She's going to give a speech again and incorporate some of those to the degree she felt they were good. So let's go ahead and have Art tell us how he's going to be looking at this and what the objectives are.
Well, our Toastmaster explained the objectives of this project in pretty full detail. The objective is to incorporate feedback from having given the speech a first time and to give a speech or the same speech a second time, incorporating that feedback. The feedback in particular that I gave her the first time was to congratulate the decision to stand and to make better use of the fact that she was standing by introducing some hand gestures that are more difficult to do when you're seated in front of a computer for a Zoom call. That was one suggestion. The other suggestion was that she tell more explicitly how her discovery of the value of integrating Maharishi Ayurveda scheduling and dinacharya would actually affect her process of studying for and completing graduation. She's going to be giving the same speech a second time, and I'll be listening for how she incorporates those factors as well as other good things that she does. So back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Art. Now, audibly. Alex was born in Brazil, but has been living in the US for almost 19 years. In the beginning of this year, she moved from South Florida to Fairfield, Iowa to conclude her last semester of her master's in Ayurveda and integrative medicine. This is her second presentation at Toastmasters, and she is hoping to improve her presentation skills and feel more comfortable when delivering a speech or talking in public. The title of her speech is The Road to Graduation. Let's welcome Alex.
Graduation, such a special moment in a student's life. It marks the end of a long journey and the beginning of a new chapter in life. However, if you're a student of Ayurveda, an integrative approach of medicine, and you realize that your study habits are not as healthy as you thought, crossing the finish line may require more than preparation for the final projects and exams, but a whole reevaluation of old habits and behaviors. My name is Alessandra Givens, and I would like to share with you how the application of a time-tested natural science guided me in the journey of the completion of my master's program. I've been studying Ayurveda for the past 3 years, and it has changed my perception about health and lifestyle. Ayurveda is the oldest style of medicine, and it dates back to more than 5,000 years. This knowledge comes from the manuscripts of the Vedas, which are the same manuscripts that include the whole philosophy of yoga. The main principle of Ayurveda is to integrate our physiology to the cycles of nature, so we can maximize the energy that's already present in our world and apply that as healing energy in our physiology. Just like other animals and plants use these natural cycles, Ayurveda revives this knowledge to humankind. However, we are not always aware of those cycles. And with today's demands, most of our habits and routines are out of tune of these natural rhythms. As long as I have been a student, I've always had a full-time job during the day and attended school at night. So the only times that I could devote for my studies was on the late hours of the night when there was no outside distraction and I could use that silence to put the attention in the preparation of my presentations and study for my exams. This was an acceptable behavior before I started studying Ayurveda. As an Ayurvedic student, we learn early on about the circadian rhythms, which are the natural processes that occurs in our body that follows the cycles of night and day. And being out of tune of those cycles, it's not a healthy habit. Knowing that, I decided to change those old habits and create new ones for my final months of studies. But as you know, changing habits is not an easy task. And in the first weeks, I was struggling to get my mind to concentrate during the day because it was just not used to. I realized that I had to create a whole new belief system in order to create those new habits. I decided to share my struggle with my professor, seeking for some expertise and some advice, and also because my final exam was approaching and I was still unable to retain the information needed to do well on my exam. My professor's advice was simple and yet profound. She said, don't panic, just do a little more each day. Slow and steady wins the race. There was another great suggestion that came from one of my classmates that had also struggled with that in the past. She recommended me a book called Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life by Dr. Suhas Kishsagar. In this book, he blends the cutting-edge knowledge of chronobiology and the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. I decided to take a deep breath and put a can-do attitude. I read the book that explained in details how to start an early morning routine, maintain regular meal times and early bedtimes. And I also remembered my professor's advice, slow and steady. In the following weeks, I started to see that I was capable of waking up at 5 a.m. even before the sun was out. And that the silence that I enjoyed so much in the late hours of the night was also there at 5 a.m. I also realized how great it felt to have a productive morning of studies and how energized I felt to do all my physical and mental activities while the sun was out. Naturally, as soon as the sun went down, I was ready to relax and prepare to sleep. To conclude, by following this new routine for 2 weeks, I was able to prepare for my final exam and also feel the benefits of being in tune with the natural rhythms of the day. I finally graduated from my master's program in June. And I truly believe that the combination of the wise words of my professor and fellow students, a timely book as a guideline, and a strong desire to put into practice what I had been learning, what was allowed me to graduate with a significant sense of accomplishment, both personally and professionally.
Beautiful job.
Thank you, Art.
Great, great. All right, Mr. Timer, would you please give us 2 minutes to, don't start quite yet. Let me, because every minute, every second counts. So everyone, you can send a message to Alex just with your evaluation, your meeting evaluation. Okay, we can start now. Anyway, very good, very nice, Alex. Let's go ahead and ask, did our speaker qualify? Bob?
Yes, our speaker qualified.
Okay, very good. Dan, let's see, Art, are you ready to do an evaluation or would you like a little more time?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so I'll hand it over to our general evaluator to just introduce you since you're part of his team. So that's Dan Craig.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's my pleasure to introduce Art Atkinson, who will give his evaluation of Alex's speech.
Well, right off the bat, Alex was demonstrating natural, convincing hand gestures, fully integrated into her talk from the first sentence. It was just beautifully done. She never got huge or big outside the range of the camera to see. They were natural gestures. She talked about natural cycles of nature with a very normal hand gesture for that. One of the things that I like most about this particular presentation of your talk, Alex, was the pauses that you introduced very naturally and without any panic for what you were going to say next. You just relaxed and then began the next thought with a good pause in between the end of the previous one and the beginning of the next. I thought it was a very advanced level of using pauses, not one that is common in new speakers. I particularly liked the way you took my suggestion to explain how the teaching of Maharishi Ayurveda on this subject had influenced your own practice and study schedule. You completely took my advice and implemented it into the speech much more clearly than I recall it being the first time. It was very clear that you were living the teaching that you were studying and that you were finding value in that. Particularly, as you said, for the final 2 weeks, you followed this routine. It led to success at the final exam and a sense of accomplishment, a good warm feeling inside that you had really accomplished something great. Congratulations, well done. You took all the advice that I had and you implemented other natural improvements yourself very well. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Art.
Yes, thank you, Art. That completes the speech section of our meeting, and it's time for us to move on to table topics. Our table topics master tonight is Donna. So I'd like to turn it over to Donna.
Thank you and good evening. I have prepared some hopefully interesting and thought-provoking questions for this evening, and I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to say tonight. So I have questions 1 through 7. Would anyone like to start first?
I'll go first.
Okay. Which question would you like? We have
Before I
one.
proceed, would somebody time me? Oh, Jean?
I just wanted to say that, and welcome Rahul, this Toastmaster, welcome Rahul. And I wanted to see if he is prepared to be our table topics evaluator tonight.
Since I've joined, I would do my duty. I'm sorry, couldn't inform earlier, and excuse me if I'm not very much onto the point today. But I like to take the challenge.
We can arrange something else. And we're glad
If
you're
there are
here.
people who can give better feedback than me, yes, totally.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not meaning it in that way. Because of my state, if there are other people who are better suited or prepared, yes, I would like them to do that if that's possible.
Okay. It's kind of a shorter session.
I'll do that, Jean. I'll do that. I'm really sorry I'll do that.
No. Okay, good. All right. Okay, well, we'll just see how you do, and you can say if we need to make a shift somehow. Okay, good. All right. Sorry, Donna, just wanted to clarify. And so we were also needing a timer for Bob. I don't have my timer stuff here. Alex looks like.
Let me see. I might be able to.
You should.
Yes, I can do it.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, back on track.
All
Did you
right,
choose?
Donna.
Yeah.
I would like number 3.
Okay. Number 3. Does your culture impact how you view nature? Is there any specific patterns of conditioning you think that your culture has put upon you?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. Does my culture influence the seasons? Is that the question has been asked to me?
How does culture impact your view of nature, if at all? It could be, do you value nature? Does your culture put a value on it? The other questions are much more specifically related to autumn, but I thought this question did relate to the seasons.
Yes, thank you. I believe our culture does relate to it, as we are learning, everyone, about global warming. And everyone that I'm aware of, that I know, and the media that we watch, typically want us to switch from fossil fuels to all natural fuels. And although it's worldwide, I still believe it's a lot more cultural. And the reason I state that is because we are basically the mouthpiece of the world. And our mouthpiece takes us in around the world, obviously, and we impose our views on the rest of the world. So yes, we do affect the things of nature. When I was a child, we used to have signs on the wall, lights off and the light switch. Now, today, we want to put windmills, we want to put solar, we want to go green. And again, I emphasize that as a cultural thing that is brought through a government, through professors, through our university, through our schools, through media, through everything, that everybody's on board. Do I believe somebody in another country have the same values or the same thoughts as we do? Only as far as much propaganda, I say propaganda, or learning the things that we study and believe that they can come on board. Back to you.
Thank you, Bob.
Hope I answered it correctly.
It was not an easy question, so you did great. Dan,
What are my choices?
we have 1 and 2 and 4 through 7.
Let me have 1, please.
Okay. How is your experience of autumn in your hometown? And is it different from where you live now? Describe.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. My hometown was a little town in the Texas Panhandle, which is a semi-arid climate, mostly treeless plains. You'd see cottonwood trees lining the creeks. In the town itself, people had planted trees and they watered them and kept them going. Most of the trees in Pampa, Texas, my hometown, were Chinese elms. I don't know if you're familiar with that elm tree, but it's a very small leaf and its fall color is brown. When I moved away from Texas and went to other parts of the country, I felt like I was suddenly in a technicolor world in fall. And it's also true in Fairfield, Iowa, where I'm living now. Where I grew up, there weren't any maple trees, but the maple tree in the eastern United States is just a glorious, showy specimen in the fall. If you want to see good examples, go look at the old courthouse near the square in Fairfield. Huge maple trees on the courthouse lawn, and that they turn that beautiful red-orange color. It kind of takes your breath away. So for me, living in an entirely different climate and coming to this part of the world, the contrast between what I grew up with in my hometown in terms of fall color, which was the main difference that I'm trying to emphasize. The contrast between that and what exists in Fairfield, Iowa, where I live now, is really amazingly different. Thank you, Madam Topics Master.
I'm so glad we got to hear about your Texas background. That was really fascinating. So we still have a bunch more questions if anyone would like to step up. Jean. We have number 2 and 4 through 7.
4.
4, okay. Describe a memory from autumn.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters. I can remember when I was in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, we lived in Hinsdale, Illinois, older neighborhood, and the trees in autumn produced unbelievably gorgeous leaves. They would just fall down. Like Dan was saying, the maple leaves were just, they were like jewels. Same with the oaks. I couldn't decide which leaf I liked better. They were different, but the maple and the oak were, I'd be walking along and I would just have to pick one up and take it, carry it. I was a leaf collector. It's not like you had to be a leaf collector, because most people were trying to rake up their leaves, but I was a leaf collector, and I would take them home and I would put them between pieces of wax paper, which you may or may not know what that is, and then iron them. This was the technique, and it would seal the leaves, because that was always the saddest part, was that these beautiful leaves eventually dry up and go away. And it just didn't want that to happen. So I had sheets and sheets and sheets of pressed wax paper leaves. And to me, that was such a exhilarating experience to have those gorgeous leaves and be able to take them and hold on to them and keep them preserved. That was a very strong memory for me of fall. Just glorious and so abundant and overflowing with beauty.
Thanks, Jean. I could really picture that whole crafting affair. Would anyone like to choose? We still have quite a few questions. Art. Let's see, we have number 2,
Through 7.
7.
2, 5 through 7, I believe.
Yeah, 2 and 5 through 7.
2.
Okay. Does your family have any traditions that correlate with this time of year?
Thank you for the question. According to which part of my life we're talking about, my family of origin through the time I left my family of origin, and the various families that I've been a part of since then, have all been living in different places. In California, we didn't have any dramatic seasonal variation when the equinox arrived and fall began. It was pretty much the same as what had occurred before, because we were living on the coast of California rather than the Central Valley. So there wasn't that much of a change in the season. And living in Houston, much the same, no big change. But when I got to this part of the world, we developed traditions. One of the traditions that we favor right now is extolling the incredible beauty of the weather, the breezes, the crisp air, the color of leaves, the quality of the sunlight, and how good it feels falling on you as compared to sunlight 2 months ago falling on you in high humidity. So one of our traditions in this part of the world is complaining about how bad it was when it was a humid summer, and extolling how good we feel and how much we're appreciating the weather now. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
That's a good one. So we have questions 5 through 7 left. Alex.
Let's do question number 5.
Okay. Is there a book or movie that is there a book or movie that makes you nostalgic, for autumn? I'm really wondering what it's like in Brazil in autumn, because I have no idea. but you could choose whatever experiences, of course.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters. I've been thinking here about a book or a movie that reminds me of autumn, but the only one that comes to my mind is Home Alone. So, and it's not about autumn, it's about winter. So, since you asked about how is autumn in Brazil, I will share about that. It's very different, because autumn in Brazil starts when spring starts here, right? So it starts in March. So right now in Brazil, they're preparing to start spring. So this time of the year is a very special time in Brazil, because it's the end of winter and that's the beginning. Like, I'm from Rio de Janeiro, so it's a tropical state. We don't have much of variation of the weather. It's either hot, super hot, or cool. Some days, some wind days. But we do have a lot of events that happened. So around this time of the year, everybody starts to get excited because of summertime, because in Rio, we really enjoy going to the beach and traveling. And also we do celebrate New Year's Eve, like everybody dresses white and go to the beach. So it starts the preparation for that. And also, this is the time that we start preparation for Carnival that happens in February. So in Rio de Janeiro, that's a big time for us, because all the school of samba, that's how we call, they compete against each other. But this time of the year, they start to practice. And then you get to go to the practices, and you learn about the samba songs, you learn about their choreography, you learn about how they're gonna present the school in the carnival. So it's a very special time for us this time. In autumn, there's really not much that we do in autumn other than just think about how the summertime will come again. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that experience of Rio de Janeiro. I hope I get to go there someday. It sounds really interesting.
It is fun.
How are we doing on time? Do we still have time?
We
One
could do
more?
one more.
One more.
Does anyone want to double dip, or Rahul? I know you're not feeling well.
Rahul.
Okay. See, we,
I'll take number 6 if I believe that's remaining.
yes. The question is something that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense to you, but maybe it would. How would you describe autumn to someone not from the US? Or I can give you a different question.
That's totally fine. Good evenings, friends, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. Coming from India, this question does make sense to me. Depending on which part of the world you lived in, we experienced autumn in a very different manner. Now, if somebody is not from US, even inside of US, there are places like Texas where autumn is way different than what is up there in North, especially in places like Maine, Vermont, Iowa, Chicago, Illinois. So how would I describe? Here is what I would say. I grew up in India. Growing up in India, there was not a lot of, aspects where the leaf would shed from the tree and it would be gloomy. It would be not colorful like sometimes it can get in Texas. But it's not as colorful or vibrant as it goes and happens in places like Maine, Vermont, Eastern Coast, Virginia. You get to see brightest shades of color, blue, red, purple, orange, but it all depends on where you are. So as I said, it's a very difficult thing to describe. I often try to describe it to my family because my family who lives in the central part of India, we experience a flat climate for majority part. Like people of America would definitely consider it as not much change in temperature or variation. There is like some highs, like temperature goes as high as 120 Fahrenheit in summer to as low as around 40 Fahrenheit in winter. But the landscape, the beauty, the trees, they pretty much stays the same. They are throughout green without much shedding of leaves, without much regeneration of life, the concept that we see it here. So I've often described it to my parents and other family folks, and they always find it fascinating, and they really want to see the fall here in places like Maine, Virginia, East Coast, maybe Seattle and those places. With that, back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
wow, this has been so exciting to hear from the people. See, I grew up in New York and I lived in mostly the East Coast, but I did live in Las Vegas, which is very arid and there's not much change. There's cactuses here, there's cactuses there, there's a bit of dust over here. So yeah, it's been very exciting. Thank you for letting me do the table topics master role tonight. Sorry, my mouth is like gummed up tonight.
So, thank you, Donna. We enjoyed your questions. Now let me ask our timer, Bob. Which of our speakers, our table topic speakers, qualified?
All of qualified, but I don't know what my time is. Qualified? All right, we're on a roll tonight.
Okay, we're going to send a vote for best table topic speaker to our Toastmaster, Jean, and our speakers were Jean, Rahul, Dan, Alex, Bob, and Art. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. While we're voting, we could go ahead with the evaluation. Is that okay if I introduce the evaluator, Jean?
Yes, that's appropriate for you.
Okay. So we're going to turn to our table topics evaluator, Rahul Vats, who's been a real trooper tonight. Got up off his sick bed. He escaped from the hospital, as I understand it, and found a video set up so he could be with us. So let's hear from Rahul about our table topics.
Is it
Bob?
2 to 3 or 3 to 4?
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Rahul gets some extra compensation here.
All right.
Thank you, Jean. Good evening, friends, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. Tonight, I'll be evaluating the table topic speaker. And I'd like to start off with the preface that we have some great speakers and we all can do really well by learning some of our strengths and taking some of the positives from the other speakers. I'd like to start with Bob, who was asked the question, how does the culture impact your view of nature? Before that, I have a small suggestion for Dana. Dana, whenever you're a table topics master, try to see if the participant understood the question and repeat it twice if needed, just to make sure that they don't start speaking and there's a conversation between you and him. Just a small suggestion. Bob, how does the culture impact your view of nature? One good thing about Bob, he greeted the audience. Another great thing about Bob is that he usually ties in a personal story into his speech. He started on it. He talked about something of his childhood where there were switches that he would use, and he was going on that direction, but then he switched and took a different direction by bringing in green energy and the government and other things. One suggestion that I have here for you, Bob, is that you can always expand on your personal story, because that's a great way of grabbing audience attention, and then people relate to content more when you share something which is close and personal to you. In terms of overall content, you can definitely throw in some vocal variety by going low maybe when you're talking about your childhood and getting excited when you're talking about energy, or the other way around, depending on how you feel emotionally about that particular topic. Moving on to one that's for you, Bob. I really like hearing you. Your biggest strength is your personal stories. Make sure you have collection that you can build upon and use them in your table topics. Moving on to Dan. Dan was talking about how is autumn different from where he grew up to where he is now. Again, he greeted the audience. He shared the story of growing up in Pampa, Texas, which was a great way because that grabs the audience attention. He talked about the brown color leaves and he showed that he was not excited about that brown color. I could see the dislike that he has for that color. So again, I mean, that's just how I, felt about it, and that's how I reacted to it. So it's a great way. He grabbed audience attention. He talked about the contrast between colors. One suggestion that I have for you, Dan, is that you could have used greater imagery, because your, topic and your content, called for it. You could have gone and talked more about colors and, bring out more expressions to the colors that, you like and things of that nature. Moving on to Jean. Jean was describing a memory from autumn. She greeted the audience. She talked about her life in Hinsdale, Illinois. She did use a lot of colorful, imagery in her language. She talked about her interest in childhood as leaf collector, which, got people, especially me, to relate with her because it was my hobby too. I used to do it. I mean, I was not as passionate as her, but, something that I could relate to. So one suggestion for Jean is that maybe she could talk about some of her favorite collection, if she still has it preserved, and grabbed and shared more detail and pulled more people in. Overall, it was great organization. So I don't have a lot of suggestion for Jean, but that is one thing maybe she can add to. Art talked about family tradition. One suggestion for Art, he did not greet the audience. So maybe Art, you could have started off by greeting the audience. You had great vocabulary. You used some real good words. Equinox, not a lot of people use that. And it's great in context of what you were saying. And he talked about building tradition. And that is one area that I felt that you could have, expanded upon and, shared more of the things that you do to build those traditions. So that's one suggestion for you. Lastly, Alex. she was asked a question about movie or book that reminds her of autumn. She did not answer that question, but she did greet the audience. She talked about a movie, Home Alone, and how it doesn't, relate to autumn. She contrasted between her lives in America and Brazil by comparing the difference in climate in northern and southern hemisphere. She did not use those exact terms. She talked about carnival and things like that, but she was going in a generic manner. So Alex, my suggestion for you is to talk about some of your own personal experience, memories, and stories from that time. You did grab the audience attention. I was very interested in listening to you, but you can build upon it if you share something which is more personal and close to home and close to heart. And with that, back to you, sir. Toastmaster or General Evaluator, Dan Craig.
Thank you, Rahul. We've completed our evaluations, so now I will ask our timer, Bob, which of our evaluators qualified, Bob?
Or it's gonna be Art qualified.
Okay,
Yes.
very good.
That's an inside joke.
All right, we are going to move right along to our reports then. Bob, go ahead and give us the complete timer's report.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Alex, her prepared speech was 6 minutes and 12 seconds. Art's evaluation was 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Rahul's evaluation was 5 minutes and 31 seconds. On to table topics, Dan, he clocked in right at 2 minutes. Jean was 2 minutes, 12 seconds. Art was 1 minute 49. Alex was 2 minutes 17. Rahul was 2 minutes 19. And then whoever, Alex, what was my time?
Yours was 1 minute and 52.
All right, there you have it.
All right, thank you, Bob. Let's hear from our grammarian. Alex, would you give us that report?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters. We had great phrases and words that were used in our table topics. Bob answered a few points here for Bob's answer. He said with the global warming, we're switching. Our mentality is to switch from fossil fuel to other source of fuel. I heard he saying that United States, the mouthpiece of the world. Is that correct? Is that what I heard? Okay.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting.
Yep.
And he also said that we impose our views to the rest of the world. I thought that was very impactful. Dan said that Texas, he is from Texas Panhandle, the side of that side where he is from. That's interesting. I've never heard before, so that was interesting. He also described the maple tree as a glorious show specimen. It was very beautiful and amazingly different. I really like that word. Jean used the word unbelievably gorgeous. I really like that, describing the leaves. She said that they looked like jewels. And she was a leaf collector. I really like that. She also used the word exhilarating. That's hard for me to say. Exhilarating, is that correct? Exhilarating experience. I thought that was nice. And overflowing with beauty. Art, his tradition is, I really thought that was funny. His autumn tradition is to complain about the summer. That was very good. And he really liked the crispy air, which is, it's good. I also enjoyed that. Rahul said that there's not too many aspects of the autumn. I think in India, he was describing not too much of the vibrant colors. And I really like, he said, the brightest shades of colors. And he mentioned the regeneration of life. I really like that phrase. And that's my report. And sorry, Jean was the only one that I heard using the word of the day, transition. That's my report, thanks.
Now we'll take the opportunity to transition to Jean for her report as the odd counter.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. There are several filler words that several of us really need to transition from because they were used quite extensively. Let me just mention, Alex's speech was perfect, no filler words, but then she started getting more conversational and like that. So 5 ahs, 9 ums. Ums were really hitting it out of the park tonight. 9 ums, 1 repeat, just 1 repeat. Bob, I wasn't quite listening to you, but I think I got 2 ands, so not bad. Art, I didn't hear any filler words from Art. Donna, I heard 4 ums, and that was mostly in casual, like transitioning back and forth in your role as table topics master. Now, Rahul gets, as far as I'm concerned, Rahul is going to get a get out of jail free card for tonight since he's not feeling well. But I just will mention that the ahs, the ums, and the you knows would be something for him to focus on. Ahs, ums, and you knows. But hey, there's only so much you can do when your body is transitioning from a procedure. So with that, that's my report, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jean. Rahul, you might not have known it, but you were also assigned to be the joke master. Do you happen to have a joke in your head?
I'll try.
Okay.
I think he had a really good one last time, so maybe he could get credit for that one still.
I'll try. I'll share this joke. Let's see if you guys like it. It's called a PJ. I share it a lot. This is my go-to savor joke of the day. It does not tie in with the theme, but hopefully you will appreciate the humor.
Mm-hmm.
So in India, there are a category of people who are known for their the way they dress up, the way they live, and their anger at times. And okay, I'll share it. If people don't find it funny, I apologize. So in a plane, there is a plane, and the plane is going, and in the plane there is power failure. And again, remember, this is a PJ. So in the plane there is a power failure, and in that plane there are 2 people who are mad. They are not mentally in their best of shape. And they are sitting next to this one person who is known as a Sardar. Sardar is a kind of a person who lives in one particular territory, and they are known for their way of style, dress up, and the fact that they have little temper. So the mad people, they started playing with him, and they touch his nose and they say, "Hey, I found the light switch." Then another person, they touch his hair. They said, "Hey, I found wire. I can do some repair, bring the electricity back." And then they're, disturbing him, annoying him. The Sardar slaps both of them and said, "Hey, you guys find electricity." Sorry for my poor attempt at a joke.
Yeah.
What was the word? Find what?
Electricity.
Electricity. When you slap them, electricity.
Oh,
Oh, didn't you get that?
no, I didn't
Oh, I'm
get
so
it.
sorry. So the person, the Sardar, when he gets mad after being annoyed by those 2 people a lot, he slaps both of them and said, "Hey, you get electricity to complete your power requirements." Again, sorry for my bad attempt at the word.
So does the slap produce electricity? Is that what the guys?
When you slap, you have that sensation, right? You have that
Yeah.
vibration, that sensation. That
Yeah.
is the electricity. It's like,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, like here's some electricity. Now you can fix yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it.
sorry, it was just a terrible attempt.
No. It
Good.
was good. No, it was good. It just, had to sink a little bit,
Yeah,
simmer a little bit.
we had to be extra alert for that one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, with
But,
my conditions, who thank you
With
for
your
being so
condition.
gracious.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Okay.
So good job, Rahul. Thank you.
So glad you're here tonight, Rahul, even though you've got your challenge there, I can see, but very glad you're here. Always a pleasure. All right.
My job as general evaluator is to evaluate the evaluators. And so I'm going to begin with Art, who evaluated Alex's speech. I think this is an interesting project for an evaluator to give feedback on the first speech and then evaluate the second time and see how that feedback was incorporated. And I thought Art did a really good job of telling us beforehand clearly what it was that he was expecting to see the second time around. And then he tied into that when he gave us the evaluation and said, yes, indeed, my suggestions for more natural hand movements and so on were followed. And here are some additional points that I saw in the presentation that were also good improvements. So I believe that was a really good job, Art. I don't really have any suggestion for you. I thought it turned out well. I think Alex felt like she got good feedback from you on this time around. My second evaluator to talk about is Rahul. And we are all very grateful to Rahul for stepping in, even when he didn't initially feel like he could, but you did a great job. You clearly showed, as you talked about each of the table topic speakers, that you were listening very well. So even though your brain may feel a little addled, the hearing function and the recording function was still going on well. I had a couple of things that I noticed that I really liked that you did. I liked that you repeated the question each time as you began to talk about the topics speaker. That reminds us of what they said and gives us the right context for hearing for what you want to say. One suggestion that came up in my mind as I listened to you evaluate Bob is that there's some kind of syndrome, and I definitely fall into this too, of spending a lot of time on the first speaker. And that happened to you tonight. And I guess it's just something we have to learn not to do. But I'll finish that first speaker and I'll go, oh my gosh, my time's almost up. And I got 4 more to go. So that kind of led into my second suggestion. Even though you went quite a bit over time, as you gave your feedback, you are really talking fast. So you had us feeling that you were very, very rushed, but then you ended up saying a bit more than time allowed. So I guess my suggestion is if there's a set amount of time, we just have to put our comments in that box and make sure the audience stays comfortable that we're in control, relaxed, and but your actual content, everything you said, all the suggestions you gave, the appreciation you gave, all excellent. Really, really good job. No problem at all with that. It was just more of a style points that I thought that I would bring up. And I believe that is all I wanted to put in my report. So I'm going to send the meeting back to our Toastmaster Jean for the awards.
Always loving our evaluators. Just whoever is evaluating is just so scintillating to have concise, precise evaluations. Well, we have some meeting awards. So speaking of evaluator, we do have an evaluator that qualified, and that is Art Atkinson. Woo! Woo-hoo.
Finally, under time.
Within time, I know. That's bonus points for Art there. Okay. And we do have a best speaker of the evening. Woo, Alex! Yay! Yay! And finally, we do have a table topics winner, and I guess you guys liked colorful leaves and wax paper. So that was me. Yay!
Who doesn't like colorful leaves and wax paper?
I know. I know.
Does it preserve the leaf for an extended time?
Yes. It puts wax onto the leaf. So there's moisture in the leaves, and then the wax just kind of lies on top of it, and it can't dry out, and it can't. And so there's wax paper on the bottom and wax paper on the top. So what you end up with is a page with the leaf ironed in, and the wax is transferred.
How long does it last?
Long time. I mean, years.
Wow.
It's just, yeah, it's transitioned into a much more.
I think we should all take some leaves and send them to Rahul so he can show his family examples, real life.
Oh, that's,
Real
well,
life.
he could also do pictures of,
Yeah,
the
but
northern,
smell of the leaf or,
yeah. I'd be walking and I could not, I'd go, oh, I have to have that one. I have to have that one. I'd be like coming in with these, collectible leaves. It was incredible, but all right. Let's see, what did I finish that? Did we do all the pieces? Okay.
Mhm.
All right, good. So let me go ahead and hand it back to our president then to bring us down the home stretch.
Yeah, as far as final comments, I wanted to know if Treasurer Dan has received dues payments, and if we're on schedule to get that accomplished by the deadline.
Everybody that is active in the club, the 7 of us here, have all paid in their dues, and I have paid Toastmaster International. But we've got 7 members, and we're short of our 8, which is what they consider the viable minimum for a club. Be nice if we could find somebody else in the next 2 days.
I found out that Jyoti Raj is still in town. I haven't actually spoken to him yet.
We should check in with him, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe a new award category could go to the person with the most elaborate and spectacular virtual background, and I vote Donna the winner on this one.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, somebody's got their legs crossed.
It's Chagall, Mark Chagall's the
Oh.
birthday with him and his wife floating.
Huh,
Oh,
very
I don't know,
nice.
can you see it better with me not standing there?
It's kind of more interesting with you in it.
yeah, it's like you kind of match with it, sort of. Colors and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
So other than the dues question, I had no other profound thing to say other than the experience as a kid of jumping into a pile of those maple and oak leaves is not only blissful, but it smells good. There's a
Mhm.
smell that those wonderful leaves have that a person born in the tropics never gets to experience unless they come here.
Okay, everyone. Well, you have a good rest of your week. Enjoy the autumn that's out there. It's really nice here in Iowa. And Rahul, you
We
continue
actually
to get
haven't
well.
adjourned the meeting yet, have we?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sort of doing this closing thing. So who needs to do that? Art? Art did he was attempting to adjourn the meeting. Art, do you want to adjourn the meeting?
That was King Art giving us the high sign.
I adjourn this meeting until next Tuesday.
Okay, very good. All right, everyone take care.